Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome everybody. This is my first interview, podcast interview like this of 2024. I have been doing the Tuesday show. I've had my second Tuesday interview, and we did the Friday mastermind, but this is the first interview I've done with an individual professional in the mortgage industry. This leader is the first time I've interviewed Joe. Joe, welcome to the Mortgage Coach community. First time
Thanks
on our
for having
YouTube
me.
channel.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you as well. So, guys, I invited Joe for a couple reasons. One, he's a successful producer. He had a just a fantastic year last year. And by the way, he probably doesn't think he has a fantastic year, but I interview enough people and know how down everybody was versus previous years, and he did really well. He focuses on working with builders. He's also a very successful branch manager, now area leader. So he's not only responsible for himself and his team, he's responsible for, a lot of other loan officers, and they're focused on delivering advice, not just price. So I wanted to showcase him for the community because I think he's got some things that everyone wants to hear. And he's focused on builders. So I really want to hear exactly what you're doing with builders. So Joe, this is the first time I've interviewed you. If you don't mind
Yeah.
sharing a little bit about yourself with everyone, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So, been in Arizona now for a little over 30 years, been in the mortgage business for almost 20 now, which is crazy to think about, but about 20 years. Started out on the broker side of the industry and, talking about builder, a couple of years after getting into the business, I had an opportunity to come up and got onto the builder side of things and realized at that point in time it was a little bit difficult to get loans done on the broker channels. This was 08, 09. Things were a little hectic, and so ended up coming over to an independent mortgage banker and growing my builder side of the business from there. But been managing a branch now for going on 7 years, and as you mentioned, took on an area manager position recently as well. So for us, it's just trying to grow in tough environments and in great environments and do it the right way. But builder's been a big part of what we've done and a big part of our success over the years. And especially right now, to your point, the industry has changed a lot, and with rates being as high as they are and inventory being as low as it is, having those builder partnerships has been a really big key to our success. And again, you said that I wouldn't view last year as a success, and I don't, but I also know in hindsight we did a lot better than a lot, and a lot of that did have to do with the builder side of the business, just solely based on inventory and concessions and helping us get deals done with that true partnership that you see with builder relationships.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing just how big of a percentage of new home sales that builders are actually doing. I don't know if this is still the case, but I think it might be more exaggerated now. This is a chart. It's a little older, but it's, the percentage of total home supply that's new construction. It looks like it, averages around 12.6%. And, I think it's over 28% now of total home supply is new construction. Do you have any data on that?
I don't have any data, but I would imagine it's higher than that now as well. They're sitting on the inventory. They've been building and they're still building. And so, again, on the builder side, you have a lot more flexibility with incentives and ways to make deals work. So in a high interest rate environment, as long as they have inventory, they're going to want to push those properties. So being able to have those partnerships and get creative on deals makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing how you're winning with builders. I mean, we're going to really do two chapters. One, I'm going to focus on like, hey, what are you doing to do the kind of volume you're doing to win with builders? And then I want to do kind of a part two because I'm interviewing a lot of top players. Like I recently interviewed Daniel Saw And then I actually interviewed his VP of sales that does all his loan officer training. And it was like, hey, how should you be training? If you're a branch manager, your branch. And if you're an area manager, your area. So
Yeah.
we're gonna close out on that. But why don't we just start on like, what's your game plan with if you had a playbook with builders? I know Mortgage Coach is part of that, but what are the 3 to 5 things you're doing to win with builders this year?
Yeah, it's all about relationships, right? I mean, it's, when people see or think about getting into the builder side, they think it's a totally different animal, and it is different, but it's not that different. It's just all about the relationship, right? If you're chasing realtors, you can chase a builder. It's just a little bit more of a sophisticated client than maybe just an individual realtor or even a brokerage. So for us, it's all about widening our network and figuring out, what builders are in our metropolitan area here, and what do we need to do to help give them a competitive edge from where they are today. So it's all about adding value, right? It's not about the lowest interest rates. It's not about anything else. It's how can I help them sell more homes? And as long as we're able to maintain that focus, that's where we start to see ourselves able to knock on more doors and actually get appointments. So, it's that value add side. So, again, in the low inventory environment, they have the inventory, but interest rates are higher. Maybe they're not getting the traffic that they're looking for. So how do we help push clients and realtors into those subdivisions to help, move the product essentially? But really it starts with identifying, what builders are out there, figuring out who they're working with. Is it a big bank? Is it an independent mortgage banker? What does that look like? And then how do we help add, more resources to their teams to help them push product?
You said something that one, it came out in my conversation with Jeremy Forcier today. I interviewed Jeremy, and it was a focus on the top three opportunities he saw in today's market. And number one was he said, my database, like he spent a lot of time talking about what he's doing in his database. Number two, he talked about training, like just getting back to the basics
Yeah.
and, being a good student, being a good teacher. And then number three, he framed it as help realtors grow. And I think when I asked you the question of like, how are you winning with builders? And it was pretty much,
Yeah.
I'm helping them win.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the first interviews I did last year was with Sean Kaplan, and it didn't make it to the top 10 videos, but he recruited in this interview right here. He recruited a realtor that he had a relationship with for 10 years and never got a referral from this builder.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him mid-year last year, and I can't remember the exact number, but it was over 25 loans that he closed from this builder. And one of the things he did, and I call it speed to need. He went out. I think you could barely see it, guys. He's in a video, and he's out in front of one of the properties that's being built, and he built a TCA that was something that he thought would help that builder sell that home. And then he also did some type of a marketing post, so when he went out to the builder meeting, he's like, I got a strategy to help you sell this project. And I even made a video to help create some traffic for this. And I thought, like, what a great example of again, one idea how to win with builders. Any thoughts on that? And I'm willing to bet that you're doing similar things yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it, right? You got to separate yourself from the rest of the gang of lenders out there. And it's the same thing as you're doing when you're going to get realtor business, right? But it's just a bigger client, a different type of client. But Kaplan is doing great with what he's doing there on the social media marketing and trying to get the word out for different communities and different subdivisions. And that's exactly what we do. Whether it's the social media marketing, or we're putting together real estate tours and getting realtors on a bus and pushing them out to different spec homes that they have out in the communities, and literally whatever we can do, sending out, marketing to our databases, getting realtors that work in those similar areas to send out marketing to their databases, right? So it's just using the network that we already have and just focusing on how do we help this builder, close more transactions ultimately. And for the realtors that we're getting to help us with this, they get transactions out of it too, because they're able to work up deals out of their social media, their past client base, and really, again, it comes down to these insane incentives and these, low rates that these builders are able to offer. It's just able to spur up this additional business that nobody feels like is really out there, but it is. You just got to go to the right place that offers it, right? And so if you're able to kind of break down the wall and add value in those ways, that makes all the difference in the world. And it's just thinking outside of the box, just like that.
Yeah, well, I just reshared Sean's interview in the Mortgage Coach, our Trust Engine private Facebook group. So I put a link to that for anyone watching this. It will be in our Facebook group. And if you're watching this in YouTube, I'll put a link to that down below. Walk us through some strategies, ways that you're using Mortgage Coach with builders and anything you're doing to win or help builders win in this market.
Yeah, so the TCAs have played a critical part in our success with the builders. And, when you're working with a builder, generally you're not going to be the only lender on that account. They have one other lender, two other lenders. Sometimes I've seen them have 5 lenders total. So you're battling for each deal that you're able to close. And so you've got to separate yourself from the pack again when it comes to that. Not to say not everybody uses TCAs, right? We all know that. Most of the really good ones do. But from what I've seen on the builder side, not a lot of them do. And so that has been our competitive edge when it comes to, working price and down payments and just showing all the different options for the buyers. If we're going up against multiple lenders and we're able to put this beautiful package together with a fantastic video and show all the different options, I can't tell you how many even surveys back that we've gotten from the builders just solely pointing out the way that we were able to deliver the information when it came to their loan options. And so again, with anything, right, when we're looking to partner with a realtor or a builder, it's all about how do we help make them look good to their clients, right? And this is a big piece of that, because if we can separate ourselves from the pack when it comes to how we deliver the information and make the buyer feel like they truly are making an informed decision on which option they choose, and they love the delivery of that method, it helps us, it helps the builder look good, and it just makes a much more comfortable process.
Let's show an example of one of the total cost analysis that you're using, and that's common. Like, this would be a really common way in which I'm supporting the buyer of a builder, and then let's kind of unpack the value from a borrower's perspective, a buyer borrower, and then let's also unpack how that would add value with a builder, and even talk about how you would use this in the called the builder recruiting meeting that you're having.
Yeah, for sure. So let's share the first one here. So just basic TCA, right? Strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3. That's generally how we label our TCA strategies, is just keep it super basic and just talk strategy versus talking specific interest rate. It's just easier for us to relate. I know people do it a little bit different. This is what we've gravitated towards over the years. But this is a pre-qualification TCA. So essentially, we're taking the purchase price of the home and we're giving them a couple different options for interest rate and really payment and cash to close. And so what this is helping us do is, one, just lay the groundwork when we issue the pre-qualification. But to your point, Dave, on kind of how does this help the builder, we provide a copy of this to the builder as well. Not every single time, it depends on the scenario, but there's a lot of times where a buyer needs a specific payment in order maybe to qualify, or they need a specific payment to feel comfortable and move forward with the transaction. Again, talking about differences between the resale market and the builder market, these builders are trying to push spec homes. So there's points in time where they're like, you know what, I can afford to spend a little bit more, maybe to get the payment down to where that comfort level is going to be in order to get that client to actually sign the contract. So we're sharing this information with the builder so that everybody's on the same page. And when they're sitting down to write the contract with the buyer, they know what we've already provided to them in the form of the TCA. And it just helps to solidify the process. Everybody's on the same page. We know what our costs are. We know what our payments are. And it just makes for a much more smooth process. But again, allowing the builder to then have that conversation with the buyer if they need a little bit additional funds. Now we already have it in writing. We know where we need to be, and it just makes it a cleaner process versus just turning the buyer down saying, hey, payment's too high, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah. Do you ever do, and by the way, your strategy, you have two strategy twos. They are different programs, but they're just labeled both strategy two, just heads up. Do you ever do like a future refi option? So show these options and then a future refi?
We do. We do. It depends on where we're at in the process. We'll do if it's a long-term build, if it's not a spec home, for instance, we'll do higher rate, middle rate, lower rate, so that they can kind of see, hey, here's kind of a range of where we're going to be. But then we'll also do the future refinance, and we'll give a couple different options on that, depending on when they're closing and when we anticipate them to be refinancing. But yes, that's part of the process as well.
So, when I break this down from a borrower's perspective and, how is this valuable? I think it comes down to people are, they have a lot of unclarity, on, buy now, wait, different payment options. And so this creates clarity, which creates confidence, which I think any builder is going to see is obvious value. What are some of your thoughts on both the borrower value of getting it the way you did it and the builder value? Like, how do you position this as valuable to a builder?
Well, any lender can just run a pre-qualification, right? You pull credit, debt to income ratio works, you run it through DU, yes or no, move on. It's about the education side is what separates this software from everything else when it comes to Mortgage Coach. So I think from the builder standpoint, they want to have a buyer that's confident and feels good about moving through with the process. The building of the home is a stressful process as it is. There's a lot of moving pieces, especially when you have a contract that could be 8 months to sometimes 16 months, depending on the type of property that they're building. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, and they don't want the financing to be even a thought in the head of a client. They just want us to be able to handle that. The client feels great about it. They understand the pluses and minuses about interest rate fluctuation and all of that. And so from the builder standpoint, us doing all of this alleviates a lot of headache that they have to deal with it on their side. They're not getting phone calls from the buyers asking them, what about rates, or what about this, or what if this happens, or what if that happens, because we're already going through all of that with the client. Most times when clients get to us, especially on the new construction side, they've already pre-qualified with their realtor's lender who led them to this builder, right? So they've already gone through this process before. I would say 98% of the time when we show them this TCA, their mind is blown because they have not seen anything like this before. So again, when you're on the builder side, you're up against a lot of different lenders, whether there's multiple lenders with that builder or they already started out and got pre-qualified with somebody. They generally just don't walk into the builder and start the process. So you want to be able to wow them in your process versus what they've already experienced with the other bank that they've initially started the process with. And this is one of those wow moments for clients, is going through the information in this way. So it's a double win for us. We're looking good to the builder, we're looking good to the client. It just helps us to solidify the deal and have a higher conversion rate, really.
When you're going to meet with a builder or anyone, do you bring this with you? Print it out? Like, how do you deliver this, in a builder meeting? Or is it like a link? Or is it a PowerPoint?
Yeah, so it depends on how we're fishing, right? Like once you get the meeting, PowerPoint works. Before you get the meeting, you're generally meeting with individual sales agents at the communities and trying to build some rapport and build a relationship there. So in that case, it's a printout. And then I'll always have my iPad with me, depending on how the conversation goes. They generally gravitate towards this as part of the presentation of the different pieces of information that we're showing them. So then I can just pull it right up on the iPad, go through it, click through it, show them different scenarios and buy downs and all that, and how we help them sell the product, especially when it comes to interest rate. So again, it just depends on where you're at in the selling process, but generally starting with the printed copy of it. And that's the same with our realtors, right? Like when we're meeting with realtors, if it's not a sit down presentation, it's the printout. So at least it gets their thoughts going a little bit and sparks their interest on it. And then we can show them, hey, here's actually how it goes. You can see the video and so forth. But it's definitely part of the presentation because it's a huge selling point.
Right, right. Okay. Well, let's transition now to, as a branch manager, how do you train your loan officers? How are you, preparing your loan officers to go out in the market and meet with realtors and have the same kind of success that you're having?
Yeah, I think with anything new for people, it's a process to get them to get on board and actually believe that, hey, this can make a difference, because I've been doing it the same way my whole career and I've never needed this. But the proof is in the pudding. So for me, it's about showing the data, right? Like from a pricing exception instance, when we look at the branch as a whole, I've got, one of the highest production levels, but then also the lowest pricing exception level. And it's not because I'm doing really anything majorly different other than just following the same exact process each time, which is utilizing the TCA. So that's a big part of it is, hey, use me as an example. Here's how it works. But then also showing the conversion rates from lead to application, from application to closing, right? Conversion rates are higher as well. And I attribute a lot of that to this because, again, we're making clients feel comfortable and confident, and we're retaining a lot more of those than if we're just sending them a closing cost worksheet via email and saying, figure it out, right? So we're walking the clients through it. But that's kind of where it starts, is like showing them that track record of how the value that we see in the program and how it really truly has helped us to do better. But then it comes down to the individual trainings. As a company as a whole, we have Mortgage Coach across the whole nation, company wide. We do a lot of training through webinars and all of that, but that only gets so far. And really, where people learn, in my opinion, is the boots on the ground and pulling it up there in front of you and just running through it. So we do bi-weekly coachings as a branch. So every other week we're getting together and we're going through different topics, but Mortgage Coach is always part of those topics, and pulling it up and having individuals talk through a Mortgage Coach, how they present the Mortgage Coach, showing different ideas of different ways that they present their TCAs. And just making it part of the day-to-day activity so that people can really embrace it and start to use it. But then I also have somebody on our one of our LOAs here that is like our Mortgage Coach guru, and he's kind of that go-to for everybody, because it, again, if it's new to you, it takes a little bit of time to understand the intricacies of the data input. And so he's kind of that go-to to go ahead and create the TCA, get it all prepared, let the loan officer do a one over on it, and then now they just shoot their video and send it out.
Cool. Well, hey, I'm going to share my screen now and ask you a couple more questions, but also share a couple thoughts with everybody in the audience. I did a mastermind last Friday with Alex Thompson, and his title is VP of Sales, and he leads co-lead. Well, Daniel Saw is the divisional leader, and Alex is the VP of Sales. And I had trained him, or not I had trained him, I had asked him, how are you training your loan officers? Because they have incredible adoption of Mortgage Coach and incredible success. And, he had kind of a document that he walked us through, and, he taught us a couple TCAs. By the way, everyone, I'm going to put a link to that down below. It's a great I really recorded this conversation for branch managers and regional leaders. But one of the things that he was doing is he's leveraging our training. So we have this 10X webpage. You guys have one because you're an enterprise client. So, so if you work for a company that has an enterprise relationship, you can use their microsite. But this 10X microsite still has a lot of value. It's just trustengine.com/10X. And so one, it's got some, what I'd call sales strategy and script here. But one of the things he says he does is he makes loan officers that, aren't masters at using Mortgage Coach watch some of these videos, and then one, provide notes so that he knows that they watched it, and then create some TCAs and review those TCAs. Do you do anything like that? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I love that. I haven't utilized the training platform that you have, but I already made notes of that from our earlier call, and that is going to be part of our coaching training session this up on Thursday of this week. But the follow-up and the follow-through, yes, we do that as far as create the TCA, send it to me, I do a review, I critique. We want to make sure that they're actually doing it the correct way and inputting the information the correct way and presenting the information and shooting their video and talking about the right things and not saying too much or too little, that sort of thing. But I love the automation that you have with your 10X platform there, and that will definitely start getting implemented on our side.
Love that. So let's go into just any other things you want to make sure we cover in this call, or any closing thoughts? Anything else come to mind?
Yeah, again, it's just, I know we're talking about the builder stuff a lot and just the value add. And I think, for anybody out there in any market, really, there's a lot of market share there, whether it's the big builders or the condo developments that are popping up all over town. And a lot of those condo developments, they converted them to apartments. Now they're converting them back into actual for sale units. So there's a lot of movement going on in the industry right now, and there's a lot of opportunity there. So I just think there's a ton of upside for anybody looking to grow their market share and kind of do something a little bit different and have that additional pillar of their business, because really that's all it is, right? Is just no matter what market or environment you're in, if you have enough pillars, you're going to be okay and you're going to weather the storm. And for us, that's what it's all about.
I know you are investing in doing events. In fact, I'm going to be out there speaking at an event. I think it's at the end of the month. What's your event strategy, and what are you doing from an event perspective?
Yeah, so talking about the different pillars of the industry, what we wanted to do is bring together, we do a lot of events centered around real estate realtors, right? And do panels with top producing realtors and try to add a lot of value to all of the other kind of realtors out there. But this time we wanted to do it a little bit different. We still have the high producing broker owners that are sitting on the panel, but we also wanted to bring in, you, Dave, to bring in a totally different lens for not only the real estate agents, but also the loan officers to be add value on the technology and different ways to sell. But really, it's about uniting our industry. It's not realtors versus loan officers or builders versus loan officers or title. Like, we're all in this together. And the quicker that people realize how much we can leverage each other to help our clients do better and help ourselves do better, I think we'll all be more successful as an industry. And so that's the focus. The title of the event is Unite and Conquer. And it's really just about, again, those four pillars. We got the builders, we got the real estate, we got the lending, and then we've got the title side of it. And how do we all work together to be more successful? And really, at the end of the day, help our clients have a better process, right? And so we're super excited to put that together, and hopefully it adds a lot of value to everybody that comes.
Nice. Love it. Well, I'm excited to do it. I love the idea of partnering. I love the idea of masterminding. I think, this is going to be a much better year than last year for most mortgage and real estate professionals. But it's not like we got easy street, and especially realtors. They have a lot of change happening in the real estate industry with the comp reform that's taking place, and they need a good mortgage partner better than ever. Builders need a great mortgage partner better than ever. And hopefully anyone listening to this got some value, got some ideas, got some validation on some things you're already doing. Do you mind sharing that total cost analysis so I can put that in the
Of
show
course,
notes of our YouTube
most
channel?
definitely.
All right. Well, Joe, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks. And thanks for being a great, mortgage coach in the markets you serve. And thanks for being a mentor and a coach to all the loan officers that you lead. You're really
I
making a difference.
I appreciate you, Dave. You've been laying the foundation for all of us, so we're in your debt.
All right. Well, have a good one, brother.
All right,
Till
you
the
too,
next
brother.
time. And for anyone watching this, hopefully you got value. Take care, everyone. This is a wrap.